Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. My name's Kaylee. This is Creative Catch Up. I'm having a really hard time making this video, to be honest. I've had this thought for months to do like a creative diary type of video, and it just kind of sat in my notes for a long time. And I woke up the other day and I typed up this outline for this video, and I've tried to record it like 3 times and I just cannot say it all correctly, you know? I can't say it in a way that feels natural or that feels genuine to how I would talk about myself. But whenever I think about this idea for this video that I really want to make, and every time I'm on YouTube, I'm like, man, I just need to make that and post it. I just want to share this. I just get in my head about it, and I end up not filming it, and I end up not feeling good enough or put together enough. But I've been really inspired by 𝒎𝒆𝒕. I found his videos on YouTube a couple weeks ago, and he's kind of doing a very similar thing, like a creative diary, a creative update every week. And he's kind of just all in one take, just talking and being real. And he's been showing up every week on there for like over a year. And I found his videos, and like, they're not, he's not famous, you know? He's just showing up and posting every week, documenting his creative journey. And I kind of just had the thought, like, okay, why am I not doing that? Why am I not just putting it out there, even though it's not perfect, or the shot wasn't perfect, or the lighting wasn't perfect, or my equipment wasn't perfect? You know, like, this has been my setup the whole time I've been doing YouTube. It's just my headphones and my iPhone, and I have a light, but it's just a little cheap ring light. Anyway, that's not the point. Yeah, I'm just gonna show up and make this, and it's gonna be pretty messy and pretty not pretty. So, yeah, my name's Kaylee. I am 26 years old. I'm an artist. I am currently living in the US. That's where I'm from. But I lived a year in Finland last year, and it's my entire personality. So, welcome. It's kind of weird because I have all the ideas in my head, and I haven't put a lot of them out. And I feel like I want to connect with other artists. I want to connect with people who are creatives and who are living in that flow state and constantly in that creative headspace where anything is possible. And it's been really hard to find. And maybe I haven't really known that that's what I wanted for a long time in a community and in friends, but it's not easy to find. And I think a lot of people don't get it, which sounds like exclusive, but like, it's not. I don't think being an artist isn't an exclusive club that you have to get invited to or anything. I think anyone can just show up. But yeah, I don't really know what I want this, maybe series is the wrong word or whatever. I want to make creative catch-up videos because I was really inspired by Carl. And he does weekly creative updates where he just shows up every week and he kind of goes through these segments. And I'm not on a journey to become a full-time artist in 6 months like he is. And I'm not entering anything into competitions or trying to apply for grants or anything like he's doing. But I am an artist and I do make things, and I want to share about them. And I think the essence of, is essence the right word? I don't know if essence is the right word. The idea behind this idea for these videos is that I want to create and share even if no one's watching. And I think a lot of us creators and artists and photographers and music, whatever, like whatever vocation of art you're in, when you share something, it's like nerve-wracking because it's usually coming from such a deep place in your heart or in your creativity or your humor or whatever. And I think deep down we know that no one's going to fully appreciate it like we do, but we want them to see, we want them to recognize, we want them to notice the work that we've put in and the heart that we've put into what we make. And then it's like the biggest letdown in the world when you put something out and no one sees it or no one pays attention to it. No one likes or comments or, you know, I got so used to receiving so much attention for my photography back when I was in my early 20s and was in creative communities. And I got so much attention for all of it. And it wasn't that it lacked meaning. It was just, you know, now that I'm this age, I go, wow, I can make stuff that's so much better than what I made back then. But the stuff I was putting out then was getting all of this attention, and the stuff I put out now, just like no one sees it. And it's like my 4, 5, 6 close friends, close creators and artists will always see my work. And I think that's really special to have. But I think we can all relate to like that feeling when like your mom likes your, you know, the drawing you made, and it's not that that doesn't mean anything. Of course that means something, and it often means a lot more than we can usually express at the time. But for those of us that want to reach people with our art and be put out there for the world to see, it's just really defeating when you share something and that only that a crowd sees it. And I think that's kind of what a lot of us are battling with like Instagram and the algorithm. And, you know, it feels just like a slap in the face every time I post something on Instagram. Like, almost like it's, you know, malicious or vindictive on purpose. Like, we see that you put a lot of heart and soul into this, but instead of putting your work out there, we're going to put someone else's, you know, face-tuned selfie of whatever out there. And that's makes me seem like I'm complaining, which I kind of am. But anyway, I want to stop caring so much what the reception is, you know? I don't want to care. Well, it's not that I don't want to care, because I think caring is okay, but I think when you let it affect how you operate as an artist, that's when it goes downhill for me. Like, I think it's really fun to go show up on Instagram and Pinterest and TikTok and see all of these people creating and see how many likes and, you know, views and followers they have and all of the attention that's on them. And they have something good and there is something inspiring. Like, I like that. And I like putting my work out there, and I like when people comment, and I love to connect with people over it. But I just feel like it's all surface level. And what is below is sort of has been this idea for me showing up in more of a long form and not describing it. Because I think when you go into too much detail describing your art, it's kind of like giving the backstory behind a joke or, you know, behind a punchline. It's like, if you have to explain it, it's not funny. And I feel that a little bit for art, but I also feel like there's this happy middle ground where I have really just felt the pull to show up and go a little bit deeper with my artwork and talk about it and entertain a space where the meaning behind the art and the heart behind the art can just have screen time, you know? It can have of space. And so it doesn't just get lost in the description of my Instagram post. It has a space where it can live and breathe, and maybe it's here on YouTube where I can show up and discuss my artwork every week. And I think that's kind of what I want to do. That is what I want to do. And it's been a while of not having the courage and having the idea, but not having the motivation, and then having the motivation, but not having the time, and then having the time, but not feeling like I'm good enough. And, all of these things in a big tornado of self-doubt and worry and comparison and all of that. It's all always there. But I want to create despite all of that. And I want to show up and be consistent with sharing my message and my heart, regardless of what the social climate around me is like, regardless of how many followers there are or what they're paying attention to. Because I have, over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and most of them are all here because I made videos about my life in Finland, and I'm not there anymore. And so it's okay with me that those people are probably going to fall off as I continue to post about things here, but it makes me sad in a way because I want them to still want to see what I'm doing, but I understand that I'm not delivering with what they subscribed to me for originally. But I think that there is a community out there that I will find. And I don't want to make... I don't know, it's a weird balance because I want to make this for me, and I want to always be making it for me, because I think you can tell when someone's making something solely for them or whether they're making it for an audience. And there's a good balance. You can find a balance, but I think that the people that I admire the most, people like Carl, where when you watch his videos, you can really tell he's like earnestly connecting with his following, and he's like the sweetest soul in the world. But he's also like really in tune with what he's doing and completely unashamed that it's completely for him. And I admire that a lot. An artist that can be unashamed that they just want to make something for themselves and they genuinely aren't affected by a negative or a lack of attention. Like I don't really receive any negative feedback from my art. I just don't receive any. And that is really hard to deal with when you have these big dreams, and you have this mentality that you want the whole world to see what you have to say or what you have to draw or paint or design. It's a hard balance, but I really want to find it. And I think that this is the place for it. I think that putting a video out like this is the place for that. I kind of went off book with this. Like I said, I typed up an outline and I haven't really followed it at all. But maybe this can just be sort of the first trailer sort of thing, introduction into these videos. I'd like to make a weekly video that I think it needs to have minimal effort, at least in the production. Like, I'm just going to show up and talk to the camera like this and have minimal cuts and minimal, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just minimal cuts and minimal editing. But I want to be consistent, and I want to show up and talk about what I'm working on and what I'm inspired by and what I'm excited for, because I do this in my head, or I do this with like close friends or family, or maybe in my journal where I sit down every week or so and have an inspiring chat, or, writing something down in my journal, or whatever, a morning coffee where I discuss my intentions for the week with what I want to do. And I want to do it here. I want to document it. And I want to stop saying so much. I really like digital art. I think that digital collage art and physical canvas collage art is probably what I will be mostly discussing over the next few weeks on this channel, because that's what I've made the most of recently. I don't really know how to describe it. I think mixed media canvas art or mixed media digital art is sort of how to describe it. I started making these digital collages around 2017, I think, the end of 2017. I made this fake magazine called Posers that I put myself on the cover of, and it was sort of born out of like frustration with some of my photography friends judging my less experienced photography friends and being like, you know, just being mean to them because they didn't know how to shoot manual or whatever. And yeah, I just saw some like injustice happening within my creative community when I was 20 and decided to air my grievances on a fake magazine cover that I superimposed myself onto. So I made the whole thing from scratch. I did the a photo shoot, and I brought it into Photoshop and created this whole thing with hand-drawn titles and texts and all of these things, and a poem and just some honest thoughts. And it ended up being like huge. It was like my most liked post to date, and I just kept making them. Like once a month, I would make these little Posers mag issues where I would put myself on a little magazine and give these silly titles, and it was kind of all tongue-in-cheek and a joke. But it started to become this place where I could show up and like be really creative, and I had built this little umbrella for myself to like be under, and it was just like it was like a reason and a space for me to have no limits. And it was so much fun. I made 9 of them between 2017 and 2019. And I really want to make a 10th one, but it's been like 4 years since I made one. So we'll see. But that kind of got me started creating these digital collages in Photoshop. And I would use my handwriting. I would use pictures of things. One of my favorite pieces called Lemon Luxury. I took a picture of tinfoil, and I took a picture of a pineapple and a lemon I sliced open. And those are real things that I had in my kitchen or whatever. And, I want to talk about it because there's these bits and pieces in the artwork that I made that were just like so many layers of meaning and depth and creative energy that I put. And so when I put a piece out there, it's not just like I messed around in Photoshop. It's like I spent weeks gathering artifacts from my life, and I put a picture of the drains spinning when I was doing dishes at the restaurant I worked at. I took a flash picture of the water spinning down the drain, and that's the background of one of them. And like just trying to glamorize the mundane and bring beauty to the mundane, find beauty in the mundane. And then I would write poems with them. And yeah, I'm saying too much because I want to talk about it, I want to dive into all these things. And I think I have been waiting for an audience, and I think that's where I'm going wrong, because I just need to show up and start talking about it. And I want to be in a position where I'm totally okay if no one's there. And I don't know that I'm quite there yet, because I really want attention. But I think that there is something really cool about just kind of like forcing myself to show up, because it's not against my will. Like my overall will is that I really want to do this, but so many things get in the way along the way that prevent me, or that threaten to prevent me from showing up. And I really just want to push past all of it and show up for that initial dream and that initial goal that is, I want to be a creative inspiration. And I want to inspire other artists that no matter how old they are afraid, or they doubt themselves, or they look around and they only see people that are better than them. And there might be people here that look at my work and think that I'm better than them. And I don't know how that's possible, because I think I mean, I like my work a lot, but like I don't know that I have an audience for art at all yet. So I don't even know, I don't even have a perception of that, but I'm so passionate about the creative process. I'm so passionate about living truly as an artist. And, you know, I had this hashtag when I would post all those digital pieces on Instagram back in, 2018 or whatever, that was make art to stay alive. And it wasn't like, it's not just in your free time. It's not you're planning to paint over the weekend with some friends. It's like this is just as essential as eating and breathing and sleeping is to me. Making something, whether it's just a pencil sketch or something you scribble down, or if it's this elaborate giant canvas painting. It's all of that encompassed into this need to create and this need to be putting something out into the world. So I talk a lot about this metaphorical gear, and it's something I've used for a long time to describe my process as an artist, but it's this metaphorical gear, a creative gear, that maybe just since I was born, since I was alive and creative, it's been turning. And at times it's like powering my whole life. And it's the engine for which anything I do gets put into motion. And I can turn it by writing and painting and reading and dreaming and I already said writing. All of those things can turn this gear. And sometimes it gets ignored, and sometimes I don't turn it for a couple of days and it can keep going, but sometimes it gets ignored for long periods of time, and it all of the time never stops completely. It is something that is always like turning in the background at least a little bit. But I think the last like year of my life, it completely stopped. And when I was living in Finland in the fall and winter of 2022 into the beginning of last year, I think it completely stopped. It was frozen over with cobwebs and locked away in a room. And I couldn't get to it. You know, I was depressed and sad and lonely, and I was in complete disbelief that I was an artist. I had lost all light and life for the things I enjoyed doing, like writing, painting, and reading and dreaming. I wasn't doing any of those things. I thought I was a bad friend. I believed I was a bad friend. And it almost felt like the gear wasn't even just stopped. It was like turning backwards, which was terrible. And I think in other times in life, that type of time and rough season, if you will, of life could cause someone to create, and it could cause them to write. It could cause them to go into this space. But for me, I was just in an icy cave in the dark all by myself, curled up. And it was pathetic. It was sad and pathetic. But I hadn't really ever been that low in my like adult life. I think, I was 25 last year, and I think it had kind of been since I was like 15. It had been a decade. But when I was 15, I was just like, teenager, depressed and sad, and Red by Taylor Swift was the soundtrack to my life. And I didn't really have a framework for being an artist. I was just stepping into like writing and drawing and all of that. But so this was kind of like a monumental time in my life last year. It was this really weird, dark low phase of life. And I don't know how I did it, but I just decided to start showing up every day and defrosting that gear and taking a little tissue to the cobwebs one by one. And I finally got it clean and ready to run again, but I didn't know what I wanted to make with the, newfound creative gear, because I think I wanted to make everything. I had spent so much time in this hiatus of making art to stay alive that I didn't know what to make. So I feel like I'm sort of at a crossroads. I want to be an artist again. I am an artist, and I want to act and live in the vocation as an artist again. And I'm dedicated to creating a system of sustainability that is ready for the longevity I want to see in my artistic career. I started going to therapy about 3 months ago for the first time, and it's been an incredible experience, and it's giving me a space to start kind of dreaming again about the type of person I want to be, the kind of person I want to be. And I feel like I can express myself now that this gear can be turned again. And even if it's slow, or even if I'm just still kind of showing up to like clean it and get it ready to turn again, like it's so exciting to be in that space of possibility again. And so throughout that work, it's like I'm starting to have a language around creating again. And I want to show up and talk about my art and the things that inspire me, because this space here, this is like huge for turning that creative gear. And if I can show up and talk, even if it's messy and not put together, and if no one's watching, like that's good for me. And this space is good for me because it gets me going. And then if there are the views that trickle in, if there are people that like or comment or, engage with me in some way on this platform, then it's like, oh my gosh, I've got one, I've got two, like I've got people that are excited to see me show up, even if it's just 10 views or something stupid like that, And I think that's what I've needed, is that push from a creative community. And I'm sad I didn't have that when I locked up the gear and locked it away in a cave back last year. I'm sad I didn't have that creative community, because I think that the people I'm searching for would have not had that at all. Like, you're not going to leave your creative gear. You have to do something, whether it's just journaling every night and talking about how much creative block you have and how much of a roadblock you feel like your problems are from creating. And like, I want to be that for you. And if you're an artist and you're watching this, thank you. But I want to help you realize that even if your gear is just inching along, it is so important and so essential as an artist to keep turning that gear, because it powers everything that you do. If you are an artist that makes art to stay alive, no matter how small, even if it's just a line in a poem or a line in a song that you made today, or even if it's just an idea that you had a spark for and you didn't do anything to bring it to life, but you had the idea, like that is still turning that creative gear. And I don't want to see myself fall into that pit of despair again, so much so that my gear stops. Because of course I want to honor a depressing season, or an anxious season, or just a time in life where you have too much going on to create. Because I think we've all been there. Yeah, I want to honor that, but I also want to be an inspiration and a light to artists that are in that space that I was. Yeah, I could keep going, but I think I'm going to stop. So I'm going to show up here and I'm going to talk about my art and the things that are inspiring me and challenging me and the things that I'm working on. And somewhat of a creative diary, if you will. It's not going to be perfect or polished. It's definitely going to be messy, but I wish I would have started this a year ago. Like, I started doing YouTube last January, and I didn't think I was qualified enough to do this. I had this idea to do a creative diary and sort of a, like, dissecting my art pieces. That's on this note that I have pulled up here, is that I wanted to dissect my art pieces and make videos about it, and I didn't think I was qualified enough to do that. So I decided to make videos that I thought would be more interesting and eye-catching while I was in Finland, and that was vlogs and Helsinki traveling things and what my time was like in Finland and my perspective as an American living in Finland. And those did great, and I'm super happy with that. It got my channel to where it is now, which isn't nothing. But from here, I want to shift into something that I feel like is more authentic to me and content that I want to see. A bold, honest, raw depiction of what my creative process looks like. And I hope you'll come along this journey with me and forge through the forest of creativity and art. And I hope I can inspire you to share what you create, even if no one's watching. Okay, I can do this. My name is Kaylee, and that feels so terrible to say. I am delusional. I don't know who I am. I have no motivation to do this. This is just me getting it all out there, you know? Good morning, everybody.